David Johnson. I will be graduating from Thurgood Marshall Academy. I will be attending college at City College of New York. I will be majoring in economics. I started at street squash in 2018. I was 13 years old. I found out about street squash through a friend, Muhammad, and I found out about it in sixth grade. And he was just like on the train, and he was like, "I'm going to like this after school program called street squash," and I was just like, "What is that?" Is that like a gathering event or something, or like that just like protest or something? He's like, "Nah, it's just like an athletic event where you just like athletic program where you just like play squash and just you know." And after that, I think like 2 years later, I just joined the program. The first day I walked in, it was very like just I don't even know how to describe it. I felt kind of out of place, and it was just new to me. I mean, like, cause it was a familiar place though, cause I did visit back in like sixth grade, but when I first started in eighth grade, it was just like, oh, I'm like really here now, and I get to like do this and have to like learn the fundamentals and really just like practice squash, like practice playing squash. So it was like it was very weird. Some of my favorite things about coming to street squash is just being able to interact with like my peers and just play squash with them. Just being able to see the coaches and have them give me advice about like my game, and also just having the opportunity to like play with other people as far as like age groups, and different skill levels. It's really like it's really inspiring just to like be able to play with so many people and how they've like progressed through the game and how your track is progressing through the game of squash. So I say it's very good experience just coming. My most memorable moments was definitely when we went to Cali this year. It was like one of the like it was my first time at California, and I met like a lot of great people. We had, I had this match that I had to play. It was against Armella. I ended up losing, but it was a very like surreal moment for me because everybody was there and just cheering me on and egging me on. And it just felt like I always have people behind me, whether I fail or whether I succeed. Another moment also that I would like to cherish was very similar to like the Cali moment was with TMA team too, and all the street squash was behind us, and my match was like the deciding match before we like see if we can go 4-0, and I ended up winning that match, and that was just a very, very, very surreal experience. Just Alessandro picking me up, and just saying, it felt like I was like on the top of the world at that point. But that was my favorite moments. Some of the friendships that I've built, it has been very. I'll say I've learned a lot from a lot of people. There's a lot of interesting characters here. We got Matthew, Thomas, and Maurice and them. But it was also people that used to come here that I've ended up, being longtime friends with. You know, kids like Vardell, David. There was another David that attended this program. I met. You know, these are guys that I still stay in contact with on a day-to-day basis. And I say like as far as my relationship with them, it's a very close relationship, because we always in like the same space, and I had the opportunity to play my first ever teams nationals, SCA teams nationals with Ahmed as my team captain, and he was there. He showed like how to be a leader, and how like even though we got last place in our division, he always had like that stoic energy about him. Just like, oh, it is what it is, but we always have another chance, another shot to get back to the top, and pave our way through like through the competition. So I'll say my friendship has been very close friendships. I feel like I've improved on just like how I view street squash as a whole. I remember when I first started, it was just something to just keep me active, just keep me out the house, and it was just like it didn't really mean much to me. Also, I had the mindset that I was moving down south that same year, so I didn't really take it that seriously. But we ended up staying down here, and I ended up coming back in ninth grade. And I didn't really take it seriously in ninth grade, but then after like the pandemic and 11th grade came in, I started like taking it seriously. I started, wanting to go to more tournaments, wanting to win, awards, and that's when I started like building this work ethic around myself and just like trying to constantly get better at the game. Every day I come, and I've also learned that even though you don't win sometimes, like you can always count the opportunities that you're given. I had a very, very selfish like perspective of it because when I always lose and I would get upset and I'll just be upset because it wasn't a selfish like perspective, but it was just like somewhere I was just like I didn't like losing a lot, and I'll just take it as that, and it'll take my enjoyment from like the sport and the program as a whole. But it wasn't until like I had like a lecture from Simba, and he was just like, don't miscount the opportunities. Just because like you're not winning and you're losing doesn't mean that you will always lose. It's a process. It's always a process, and just stick with the process, stay consistent, and also like just believe in the fact that you can climb that mountain of success. It doesn't matter what ranking you are on a ladder or whether or not you're the best squash player. It's really a matter of like, are you willing to stick with it and just, you know, really just look outside of the game and just look about the opportunities that was given to you. Being able to like even though you lost at this tournament, you still was able to have this opportunity that other kids at the program haven't to be able to participate in this tournament. So that really changed my perspective a lot. It definitely taught me that I am a very hardworking individual. Like I will not stop. Like I remember there would be times where even Simba had to tell me like, "Oh, Dave, you gotta go home," because I would be here so late. I remember I came here like a couple weeks back on like a Wednesday, and I was like super late, and Simba was just like, "Nah, you gotta go home. You can't stay here." And I was just like, "Oh, let me stay here for another hour." I just want to keep practicing. Keep working on my game. So I definitely it definitely showed that I am a very hard worker. It's something that I clearly enjoy and love, which is squash. And I would not stop. I will not stop until I reach that threshold of my goal. It was a past staff member that was here. His name was Carl. I worked with him a lot. He was here when I was during my ninth grade year. I didn't have that much time with him because of the COVID pandemic. But what Carl taught me was that like he helped me out. He was like the academic advisor. I was in ninth grade, kind of struggling in academics, and he's just like he taught me something like he was just like with you is just that you're just not consistent. And I was just like, oh, what's that? It's just like you can't. He's like you're not constantly at like a steady place. Like you more like up and down with it. And Carl really taught me just like how to just really just believe in myself and believe in my capabilities of just being able to like achieve like what I can do in academics. So Carl definitely like taught me some things about myself that I didn't realize at that time. And I mean, all coaches have like like they all have a different way of like impacting in a way. Simba definitely like with his lectures, and he's just like the way he talks about the game and the way he like makes you view things from a different perspective that you originally had it. And Kateria always wanted you to work hard and always wanted you to put your best foot forward. And even the new coaches, Joanne and Rick, Rick brings that like because a lot of coaches are like older and well, except for Kateria, but Rick actually brings that fact of like just that young and like just that young energy and just like he'll be willing to play with you and just mess around with you even as a coach. So he brings that hype energy to the organization. And Joanne, she's always talking about the fundamentals and like really the basics and really like she'll actually walk you through it and like instead of just like saying, "Oh, you just gotta do this and you gotta do this," like she'll actually like slowly guide you down that path, and then you should like just go with you through every moment. So each coach is different. I say I'm most proud of just being able to just stick through it all these years. There's definitely been up and downs throughout my time at squash. There's been times where I wanted to like stop and just quit and just be like, "Oh, I'm done with squash," and yet I'll just come back because I'll think about all the people that like really, care about me here and like willing to help me here and just really just actually just support is willing to support me throughout my journey here. So I definitely say that I'm definitely proud of like how I grew as a person, like from being that young little obnoxious kid. I was really obnoxious when I was like 13. I was so annoying, and just growing up to like a humble person, just quiet, just observant. I'm still like a jokester, but it's very tamed now. The most challenging for me was really just not being like just not being hard on myself. Like I struggled a lot with just being so strict and so hard on myself. Like I'll make like one mistake and then like I'll just be like, oh, like you're not cut out for this. You're not supposed to be doing this. You're not. That's why you're where you're at. And I wasn't really just like viewing like the potential that I had and just viewing the things that I was doing right. I didn't really see like what others saw, I did not see. Like others saw me progressing, others saw me climbing up the ladder, and I just only saw the mistakes I was doing. I was only seeing the wrongs. I didn't see like the positives in my game. So that was very hard for me to like really just overcome. That was a hard thing for me to overcome. Just actually being able to like believe in myself and telling myself like, hey, you put in the work and you've actually gotten to where you are because you put in the work and you've improved as a player. So I definitely struggled at that in that aspect. If I was telling a middle schooler who was interested in joining the program, um, I would tell them just enjoy it. Just enjoy it, no matter what it is. The wins, the losses, enjoy everything. It's not an opportunity that's presented to a lot of kids throughout the world. And just to be able to just have the opportunity that's given to you to be able to meet new people and just really network with others and just really improve in like your self-development. It's really just it'll pay off. So don't worry about like the losses or whether or not you're like the best squash player on your ladder. Focus on like your progression, your self progression. Don't focus on others and compare yourself to others. That'll take the enjoyment out of it a lot because it did for me. And I'll say just enjoy it. Enjoy every moment of it.